When a struggling mother asked for leftovers, the biker's incredible response stunned everyone. Sarah clutched her purse tightly as she navigated the food drive at the local community center, her heart racing. How had her life come to this? An eviction notice loomed like a dark cloud, and her children's laughter echoed through the streets, a sharp reminder of her desperation. At 38, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she stood among well-fed families who could afford treats that she hadn't thought about for weeks. Swallowing hard, she blinked back tears, willing herself to keep it together. As the volunteers emptied boxes, the sight of leftover meals felt like a lifeline thrown into deep waters. She imagined her kids' smiles and their tiny hands reaching for a warm plate. Yet each step toward those volunteers felt like wrestling with her own pride. What would they think if they knew she had skipped breakfast again? Days had become a series of compromises, small sacrifices piling upon her meals skipped, bills unpaid, dreams deferred. Moments raced through her mind. The familiar pang of shame tugged at her resolve. She stood on the precipice, trembling at the thought of asking for help. Before she knew it, she was speaking, words tumbling out in a rush. Can I have some of the leftovers when you're done? The impact of her question hung heavy in the air as if everyone around held their breath. Then, eyes turned, and a tattooed biker who had strayed from the perfect image of a good Samaritan met her gaze. Mike, the town's enigmatic figure, a reputation that couldn't easily be ignored. Everyone knew he bore heavy scars, though they had nothing to do with his looks. Yeah, I'll save you some, he said, a warmth lighting up his usually fierce expression. The words sent something swirling inside her. No pity, no dismissal, just a sincere offer that shocked her. Just as she began to walk away, he added, "And why don't you come to the barbecue at my garage this week?" Sarah froze. Surely, she misheard. A barbecue with a biker? The very thought sent waves of doubt crashing over her. She hesitated, racked with uncertainty. Would their laughter drown out her worries? Or would she stand there like a wallflower, the pressure of judgment bearing down on her? Images of her children swirled in her thoughts, a non-eventful home versus a chance for connection. Guilt twisted in her stomach as greed clashed with morality. It all mashed together into an incomprehensible mess. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Her pulse quickened at the idea of showing up later in the week. The aroma of charcoal and simmering laughter might mask the insecurities clawing at her insides. Thoughts raced. Did she really belong there? The conflict of giving in to the allure of a possible friendship gnawed at her, layered with the dread of rejection. Could she really embrace the unknown, an unpredictable bond with someone like Mike? A loud rumble from a motorcycle outside pulled her thoughts back, reminding her of his wildness and the danger entwined in vulnerability. As fear tightened its grip, the fear of trust, fear of failure, she felt trapped in a cycle of her own making. Should she retreat into her shell, shielding her heart from scrutiny, or challenge her instinct to run away? The stakes felt insurmountable, each choice fraught with the possibility of hope or devastation. Sarah stood poised at a crossroad, torn between desire and self-protection. What choice could she make when faced with the blurred edges of reality where every turn might reveal more than just a meal, but the chance at genuine connection? The future stretched out before her, bursting with uncertainty, holding her breath for what might come next. The days passed in a haze of doubt and determination. Sarah's routine settled into a predictable rhythm: wake up, care for her children, search for jobs that seemed increasingly out of reach, and attempt to keep the bills from piling up any higher. But in the quiet moments, as the children's laughter danced off the walls, her mind spiraled back to that interaction at the food drive. Mike's unexpected kindness lingered, like a flickering candlelight in an otherwise dark room. She found herself staring at the mailbox each day, half expecting something to change. An invitation? A note? But nothing came. It would take more than a simple barbecue to alter the course of her life, she realized, and yet the thought of seeing Mike again, surrounded by others, pulled at her. She had spent too long hiding in the shadows of her own shame, and this felt like an opportunity, albeit a scary one. The barbecue day approached, and the tentative excitement bubbling inside her clashed with the doubt that habitually weighed her down. On the evening before, she stood in front of her closet, tossing aside blouses that felt old and worn, symbols of a life where she had once felt confident. What could she possibly wear that would make her feel worthy of the evening ahead? Settling on a clean shirt and jeans, she took a deep breath. For her children, she told herself, they deserved to see her try to connect, try to reach beyond the low horizon that her self-esteem had created. Maybe they could share in a piece of joy. The idea of being a role model, even if just for a moment, ignited something in her. When the day finally came, the sun was bright, the sky a soft blue that contrasted with her tremors of anxiety. The sound of laughter floated on the breeze as she walked toward Mike's garage, heart hammering in her chest. With each step, insecurities surfaced like shadowy curls of smoke, but she pushed them back down. This was about more than just herself. It was for her children. As she crossed the threshold, the vibrant atmosphere enveloped her. The warmth from the grill and the bustling chatter created a strange sense of safety amidst the unfamiliar setting. Mike, standing at the heart of it all, looked up and acknowledged her with an inviting smile that disarmed her instinct to retreat. "Glad you made it," he said, pouring her a drink before she could even protest. "No need to stand alone. Come on." The magnetism of his presence drew her in. He introduced her to others, simple names and stories flowing around her as laughter bubbled up like a refreshing soda, lifting her spirits higher. Gradually, she recognized that the atmosphere was not filled with judgment, but camaraderie. They were all simply sharing a moment of community. A powerful realization began to dawn on her. Every conversation peeled back layers of her anxiety, revealing a vulnerability she hadn't known she could expose. When someone asked about her life, Sarah toyed with responding lightly, evading the raw truth. Instead, she felt a sudden surge of courage. "I'm a mother trying to find my way again," she confessed, the admission startling even herself. In that moment, the room fell quiet, not in judgment, but in understanding. People nodded, their eyes soft with empathy. The gasp she expected didn't come instead. She was met with shared stories of struggles and resilience. Each one resonated, echoing her own fears in a harsh harmony. Forcing herself to forge onward in this supportive space felt harrowing but necessary. With every passing minute, a subtle transformation began to unfold. She wasn't just a struggling mother. She was a woman ready to reclaim her narrative, faced with the knowledge that the connection she sought could be tangible. Yet, just as she began to settle into this new identity, the nagging fear of vulnerability loomed again. Could she really dare to hope for more than this night of friendship, a chance to rediscover herself? As she looked across the room, her gaze caught Mike's, and for the first time, she wondered, was he a potential ally in this rebirth? As her heart raced with possibilities, the door of new opportunities creaked open ever so slightly, revealing the unsettling yet thrilling prospect of change. The moment hung delicately in the air, holding her breath as she waited for clarity to emerge through the pang of growing excitement. What would come next? Would she truly allow herself to be seen for who she was meant to be? The moment stretched, and Sarah held Mike's gaze, an unspoken question hanging in the air. She felt a wave of hope mingle with an even stronger surge of uncertainty. It was a fragile sensation, teetering between the allure of connection and the risk of exposure. As she tried to steady her breathing, her mind raced through possibilities. How would this night end for her? The joy around her felt almost tangible, and she realized that this barbecue wasn't merely an event, it was a chance for reinvention. But as laughter filled the air, an unsettling thought tugged at her. What if this was just a temporary escape from the reality that awaited her at home the next morning? "Are you okay?" Mike's voice broke her train of thought, concern creasing his brow. She nodded. "Just thinking." "About what?" "About how I can keep this going," she blurted, surprised by her own candor. "I mean, these connections. I feel lighter here." A smirk crept across his face, as if he understood the deeper layers hidden behind her words. "It's simple, really. Be honest, be yourself. That's the foundation of all good friendships." His eyes, warm and earnest, made her momentarily forget her fears. "Easier said than done," she replied, the smile fading into uncertainty again. "That might be true, but the effort can lead to meaningful connections," Mike continued, his enthusiasm infectious. "You might be surprised at how many people resonate with your story. Everyone here has their own past, struggles, secrets. We're just trying to navigate life together." His encouragement wrapped around her, bolstering her confidence just enough to test the waters further. "What if being myself means admitting I need help?" "Perfectly fine," he said, acknowledging that need is strength, not weakness. "You don't have to go through everything alone." His words settled like a soft blanket over her nerves. Perhaps being vulnerable here wasn't as frightening as she imagined. As conversations swirled around her, she seized this moment to lean into the intimacy blooming around the grill, shrouded in warmth and understanding. Her heart began to race again, this time fueled by a newfound resolve. Looking around at the faces, some familiar and some not, a comforting realization echoed in her mind. People genuinely wanted to connect. They weren't preoccupied with her past judgments, they were ready to see her for who she truly was. The evening unfolded, filled with shared laughter, stories that gently peeled back layers of life, and a growing sense of community that enveloped her like the twilight sky darkening outside. Each person shared their triumphs and defeats, and Sarah felt the rhythm of their experiences syncing with her own. Yet just as they began to connect, a flicker of doubt interrupted her thoughts. Would this sense of belonging last beyond tonight? She couldn't shake the fear that any connection she formed might be stripped away once the gathering came to an end. The moment of truth presented itself when someone asked Sarah about her dreams. She hesitated, swallowing hard as the question ricocheted within her. What did she truly desire? Instinctively, she thought of her kids. What type of future was she carving for them? "I want to build a life where my kids can see me thriving, not just surviving," she eventually confessed, her voice steadying with each word. "I want them to know it's okay to ask for help. They deserve to see me try." A wave of admiration rippled through the group, nodding in silent encouragement while she fought to maintain her composure. In that vulnerable response, she felt the chords of hope strike deep within her. Perhaps her past could inform her future instead of chaining her to it. As she absorbed the atmosphere infused with intent and connection, the aroma of charred meats and laughter flowed around her. A pivotal realization ignited. It was time to step beyond her fears, to embrace the possibilities unfurling before her. A sudden burst of laughter drew her from her thoughts. She turned, curious about what had shifted the mood, only to meet Mike's eyes again. The understanding there was unmistakable, yet tantalizingly opaque. Was he, too, curious about a deeper connection, or was she projecting her desires onto him? Dizzying options whirled in her mind like a kaleidoscope, each more enticing than the last. The curve of the evening held the promise of change. As conversations flickered, Sarah felt the boundaries of her old self begin to blur. But was she ready to face the next step? The vibrant atmosphere pulsed with potential, and as she whispered a silent vow to herself to remain authentic, a question hovered amid the laughter. Would her newfound voice be enough to embrace the opportunity she desperately craved, or would past fears pull her back into the shadows? In the flickering glow of the strings of lights strung above the barbecue, Sarah felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with an underlying anxiety. With every laugh shared, every story unveiled, she could almost hear the walls around her heart begin to crumble, a slow erosion that felt liberating yet terrifying. As the warmth of connection stirred memories of her past, distant and painful, she forced herself to refocus on the present moment, on what lay ahead. She was surrounded by people, yet the echoes of loneliness loomed persistently. Could she genuinely allow them into her life? Or was she merely rehearsing a script of optimism that might lead her astray? "Sarah!" The shout came from Karen, a lively woman with a penchant for storytelling. "Come join us. We're about to play a game." An internal battle raged within her. Part of her wanted to step forward, to let her true self shine, while another warned her that stepping into the light also meant exposing her vulnerabilities. The weight of it nearly left her paralyzed, but the laughter beckoned her, a siren-esque song inviting her to join the tide. Taking a deep breath, she joined the group, forcing herself to smile. The game required each participant to share an accomplishment from the past year. As others spoke with ease, Sarah's heart thudded in her chest. What had she achieved other than surviving the chaos? When her turn arrived, the air seemed to thicken. I started to really focus on my kids. She began hesitantly, her voice quivering slightly. I wanted them to see me as more than just their mother. I wanted them to know that beneath all the responsibilities, I have dreams of my own. Murmurs of encouragement rippled through the circle. She continued, finding strength in their eyes. "I signed up for a community course in graphic design. I've always loved art, but I never really believed I could do something with it." A round of applause broke out, surprising her. In that moment, Sarah felt the warmth of acknowledgement sink deep into her chest. Her achings for validation, which once felt so essential, began to shift. The desire hadn't vanished, but transformed into something almost profound, a wish to inspire her children, to teach them that ambitions could be nurtured amid life's chaos. As the game continued, her initial apprehension gradually morphed into a strange sense of empowerment. Her willingness to share, to be seen, unlocked something within her, and for the first time in a long while, she began to feel as if she was crafting her identity anew. Yet even as hope simmered, the darkness of doubt flickered at the periphery. What if this authentic version of herself didn't fit neatly into the life she'd built thus far? The game concluded, and conversations pivoted to plans for the upcoming weeks. Mike, leaning against a nearby railing, caught her eye and smiled, a gesture that fueled her courage. "Are you going to sign up for the advanced course?" he asked, a teasing glint in his eye. "I might," she replied, her voice steadier than before, though uncertainty lingered behind her words. The thought of pursuing something beyond her home's four walls seemed both thrilling and daunting. Would it truly align with who she was becoming? Or would it drive a wedge between her emerging self and the person the world thought she ought to be? "Good. I'd love to see what you create," he encouraged, and Sarah melted a little inside at the kind honesty in his tone. This director of friendship urged her to forsake her fears, to embrace what lay ahead. But just when she felt herself rising, the shadow of her past loomed larger, a whisper of self-doubt, reminding her of old failures, moments where her ambitions went unfulfilled. Was she about to set herself up for another letdown? Taking another deep inhale, Sarah acknowledged the dichotomy within. She feared failure, but yearned for success. The delicious tension struck her again, an overwhelming battle between dreaming and drudging in familiar unworthiness. The excitement of positive connection simmered in the air, yet Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the edge of something significant. With her heart racing, she made a decision. In this pivotal moment, she'd invest in herself despite her fears. As the night carried on, her thoughts drifted beyond the barbecue and into an uncertain future. The echoes of laughter faded, and she found herself staring into the unknown. Was she ready to nurture these aspirations and face the possibility of failure head-on? Action began to crystallize within her resolve, because beneath the confusion loomed an undeniable truth. Every step toward discovering herself was a step away from fear. She was ready to embrace the chaos that accompanied change. But just as she repacked that spark, a stray comment from Karen jerked her back to the moment. Who wants to help me with my social media campaign? That single question hung in the air, poised to become a turning point. What if this was an opportunity that might challenge her deeper, ask her to evolve in unforeseen ways? Would she step forward into the demanding light or retreat into her past shadows? The question lingered in the air, mixing with the ambient sounds of clinking glasses and laughter. Sarah felt an undeniable tug toward Karen's request, a challenge and an opportunity wrapped in one. Still, a voice in her head echoed the familiar refrain. What if she wasn't good enough? As the gathering dispersed, she watched Karen animatedly discuss her campaign, her expression lit with passion. In that moment, Sarah felt something stir within her, an insistent whisper that pushed her toward growth. This was it, she realized. This was her chance to dip her toes into the expansive waters of her ambitions. Could I help you with that? The words slipped out before she could second-guess herself, each syllable sounding like a small victory that Karen's head whipped around, excitement blossoming in her expression. Absolutely. I could use someone with a creative edge. Have you done this kind of work before? Sarah shook her head. Not professionally, but I'm learning graphic design. I might have some ideas. There was a moment of shared enthusiasm, a small flicker of possibility igniting in that exchange. But soon, the faint whisper of self-doubt resurfaced. What if her inexperience sullied Karen's project? What would people think if her contributions fell flat? You'll do great. You are creative, Karen assured, clapping Sarah on the shoulder as if sealing a bond. A rush of warmth spread through Sarah at that recognition, yet apprehension festered underneath. Later that night, Sarah lay in bed wide-eyed. The weight of the decision gripped her tightly. Should she have engaged so readily in Karen's campaign? The prospect of creating something from scratch excited her, but at what cost? Diving into this project required time and energy, a currency she felt she had little of amid her hectic home life. Should she prioritize the needs of her family over her aspirations? The conflicting emotions swirled within her, causing an unsettling churn in her stomach. This decision was more than a simple yes or no. It was imprinted with deeper implications about her identity. Torn between the mother she had been and the artist she aspired to be, she stood at a personal crossroads. Was it selfish to create amidst her responsibilities? Or was it essential for her children's perception of a balanced life? As she wrestled with these questions, flashes of her graphic design course flooded her mind. Techniques, ideas, and colors began swirling together like an unfinished canvas waiting for paint. The prospect of contributing something meaningful, perhaps even innovative, nudged at her. After a restless night spent grappling with her thoughts, the morning sun brought clarity. The nervous twisting in her stomach lessened, replaced by a sense of determination. She wasn't merely helping Karen. She was also stepping in her own light. At breakfast, she announced to her kids that she would be working on a social media campaign. They blinked at her for a moment before her youngest piped up, like a project, Mom? Yes, just like that. I'm going to learn and create. Their faces brightened, and a swell of pride filled Sarah. Thinking back, their reactions reminded her of the shared laughter around the barbecue just a few nights before. With resolve hardening, she rummaged through her notes from class, searching for inspiration. Ideas flowed, and the thrill coursed through her veins as she plotted out rough sketches for post-graphics. She felt alive in this process, something reminiscent of the passion she had buried for too long. But just as her creative course surged forward, another inch of self-doubt squirmed into the back of her mind. What if she failed to meet expectations? Would it be absurd to think she could genuinely excel among others with more experience? These questions festered throughout the day, competing with her newfound sense of purpose. She needed assurance, but also craved to succeed on her own merit. As night settled in and she prepared for bed, adrenaline still tingled in her fingertips from the day's creative endeavors. The familiar tension of possibility, encased her like a tightly wound coil, ready to spring forth. But what if this newfound path led her straight into the heart of a greater conflict? What would happen if her actions challenged her idea of success, forcing her to confront aspects of her identity she wasn't ready to face? A sudden knock on her door shattered the moment. "Mom?" Her daughter called, voice small and uncertain. "Can I talk to you?" Sarah's heart sank. Here, at the edge of her ambition, was a personal hurricane waiting to unfurl, and she couldn't ignore it. What revelation awaited her from her child? The door creaked open, and Sarah's daughter stepped inside, her small figure framed by the soft light from the hallway. The worry etched on her face was palpable, a mirror reflecting Sarah's own tumultuous emotions. "What's wrong, sweetie?" Sarah asked, shifting her focus from her creative ambitions to the immediate need of her child. There was a deep instinct within her that demanded attention. "It's just, I feel like you don't have time for us anymore," her daughter confessed, her voice wavering. "You keep talking about your project, but you used to play with me and tell me stories." Sarah's heart twisted. The guilt rushed in like a tidal wave, drowning her in the very doubts she had been trying to overcome. Had she been blinded by her desire to pursue her passion? The realization hit hard. By trying to reach for her own aspirations, was she inadvertently neglecting her children's emotional needs? "I'm still here," she said, her voice steady, though her mind was racing. "I want to do this project, but I will also make time for you, I promise." The sincerity in her voice seemed to relieve some of her daughter's tension, but Sarah couldn't shake the burden of responsibility pressing down on her. That night, she lay in bed, her creative ideas now tinged with hesitation. Little by little, she recognized how entwined her ambition and her role as a mother were, each feeding into the other. But how could she balance both? In her mind, the lines began to blur. Should she continue this project, knowing it might lead to moments of absence with her children? Or should she pull back, consolidating her time to focus solely on what feel like her most fundamental duties? The next morning, equipped with resolve, she sat across from her daughter at breakfast. "Let us create something together." Her daughter's eyes widened. "Create? Together?" "Yes. You can help me think of fun ideas for my project." It was a way to merge both worlds, a push for personal growth while involving her children, answering their needs without sacrificing her own. As they sketched ideas on a large sheet of paper, a spark ignited between them. The imprints of colors and shapes melded not only the worlds of design and family, but also the essence of collaboration they both craved. Laughter filled the kitchen, a sound Sarah had been yearning for amidst the chaos of her inner conflict. This newfound approach revitalized her desire to contribute creatively, but it also raised a new question. Could she genuinely incorporate her children's perspectives into her work while still safeguarding her own artistic choices? After their brainstorming session, Sarah felt lighter, more empowered than she had in days. Yet, the lingering voice of self-doubt whispered ominously. Would Karen get frustrated if Sarah included her daughter's ideas? It seemed so trivial, yet somehow pivotal in the realm of her professional development. The day moved briskly as she merged her children's input into her plans, but the weight of expectations loomed. Would Karen appreciate this shift, or would she see it as amateurish, the result of a mother too distracted to focus? As evening approached, Sarah prepared for a video call with Karen, her stomach fluttering with anticipation and anxiety. This conversation would define the project and perhaps her newfound resolve as well. But beneath the surface excitement was an undercurrent of fear. What if this opportunity wasn't meant for someone like her? Just as the call connected, a small voice interrupted her thoughts. It was her daughter, appearing in the doorway. "Mom, can you read me a story?" Sarah hesitated, feeling that familiar tug-of-war between commitment to her aspirations and her responsibilities as a mother. The opportunity to shine was beckoning her, but so was the chance to nurture. "Just a moment, okay?" She rushed out, heart racing. But as she stared at Karen's eager face on the screen, ready to discuss plans, she realized something profound. The moment of truth was approaching. Could she truly face all of this? The delicate balancing act was about to begin, And only then would Sarah discover which path she would choose to footstep on the journey of self-identity and purpose. The call connecting, a single thought blared in her mind. What must she sacrifice to solidify her aspirations? And at what cost? That question lingered, poised on the brink of revelation, a step forward into her new calling, yet overshadowed by the weight of a mother's love. The screen flickered as Karen's face filled the frame, an eager smile spreading across her features. "Sarah, it's great to see you. I hope you're ready to share your ideas." As Sarah took a breath, the weight of her daughter's question loomed heavy in her mind. Could she truly embrace this moment without sacrificing the more tender aspects of her life? "Yes, absolutely. I'm excited," she replied, forcing enthusiasm to mask the anxiety brewing within. Glimpsing Karen's notepad already filled with points, Sarah's mind raced back to the sketches she had drawn with her daughter. Would this inclusion enrich her project, or would it betray her professional credibility? The image of her daughter's hopeful eyes challenged her to reconcile these worries with the genuine anticipation she felt. "I've been thinking about incorporating some playful elements, something whimsical that's really engaging," Sarah began, pulling on her courage. "Oh, like what?" Karen's interest piqued as she leaned closer to the camera. Sarah hesitated, the unresolved thoughts swirling viciously in her mind. Would any of the ideas they explored together be deemed insignificant or naive? "Actually, my daughter suggested using a color palette that feels inviting for kids," she continued, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "And integrating interactive elements, not just visuals, to make it more immersive." Karen's eyebrows raised. "That's a refreshing perspective. Children definitely respond to colors and interaction. I love it." Sarah exhaled slowly, the warmth of acceptance washing over her like sunlight breaking through cloudy skies. Encouraged, she elaborated further, savoring the newfound validation in Karen's eyes. As the session progressed, Sarah discovered a rhythm scintillating with insights. Her confidence started blossoming amidst the interchange. But the remnants of doubt still threaded through her brain. As nagging questions persisted, was this enough? Would this incorporation showcase innovation or simply reflect confusion in her creative direction? After wrapping up the call, Sarah felt a sense of accomplishment tinged with concern. Karen had responded positively. Yet at what point would her personal experiences overshadow the professional aspect of her work? That evening, Sarah sat silently over dinner, her children chattering animatedly. They recounted their day, but her mind remained troubled. Was she equipped to merge professional ambitions with the instinctive need to nurture? The bond blossoming with her daughter during their creative venture kept surfacing as both a solace and a reminder of the balancing act required. "This is friendship food," her daughter exclaimed, eyeing the colorful array of vegetables. Sarah snapped out of her reverie, looking at the artful combination of colors. "You know, I might want to present our ideas similarly vibrant and engaging," she mused aloud. Her children's expressions lit up. "Can we help you fill in the project, Mommy?" Her youngest chimed in. Their enthusiasm ignited a fierce desire to leap into creativity with childlike abandon, a long-buried passion beginning to rise again. That night, Sarah carved out moments in her schedule to blend both family time and work. She envisioned planning weekly family brainstorming sessions that nurtured creativity yet still centered around her project. Each concept felt more invigorating than the last. Yet, shadows of concern lurked. Would this dilution of professional rigor meet any academic or industry standards? Determined to push through, Sarah drafted a rough outline for her project, drafting goals infused with imagination and her children's fresh perspectives. But in the back of her mind, the escalating fear lingered. Muddling her identity with maternal love might strip away the authority she needed to thrive professionally. The next day, however, offered an unexpected twist. In her email inbox, she found a message from Karen. With trembling fingers, she opened it, half expecting to see disappointing feedback about her suggestions. Instead, she discovered an invitation to present her project ideas to a group of influential stakeholders in a week's time. Time seemed to freeze. This opportunity was significant, yet it posed immediate consequences. How would she combine her artistic aspirations with the responsibility of her home life? Everything hung in precarious balance as she stared at the blinking cursor on her screen. It was a pivotal moment. Could she meld her dual roles into a cohesive entity, or would she crumble under the weight of expectation? A knot formed in her stomach, and the next move seemed impossible. It was time to make a decision. Embrace this challenge wholeheartedly or retreat to the safety of familiar routines. The clock was ticking, and the pathway to a defining moment had arrived. Would she step up and embrace the intersection of her powerful identities, or would fear win over her burgeoning ambition? In that tension, the next chapter of her life awaited its test. As the hours ticked away and the initial shock of the invitation from Karen settled into a palpable sense of urgency, Sarah felt a strange mixture of excitement and dread coursing through her veins. She leaned over her desk, surrounded by hastily sketched ideas, vibrant colors, and half-finished notes peppered with her children's drawings. Each mark and flourish tugged at her heart, but the ticking clock glared back, reminding her that time was slipping away. She raised her hands to her temples, massaging the tension that coiled tightly within. Was it foolish to cling to her children's innocent creativity? The brilliance of their ideas stood in stark contrast to the austere world of professionalism she had to navigate. Yet, as she gathered her thoughts, a new resolution began to unfurl. Instead of panicking over the stakes of the presentation, why not embrace this unique opportunity? This could be her platform to showcase the beauty in blending work and family. Her narrative could resonate with others who face the same struggle. Sarah grabbed her notebook and jotted down a new outline. She envisioned interwoven themes presenting whimsical yet meaningful concepts that encapsulated her dual role as mother and professional. The interactive elements proposed with her daughter could serve as emotional anchors for the project, standing as testament that creativity thrived under shared experiences rather than in isolation. Perhaps this was the authentic innovation she had been searching for, but with each stroke of the pen came a wave of nagging self-doubt. What if her approach was perceived as simplistic? The fear of judgment gnawed at the edges of her confidence, threatening to stifle her enthusiasm. Still, the thought of her children's faces, their laughter and delight during their brainstorming sessions, reignited a fierce determination. By the end of the evening, she had crafted a compelling narrative thread, one flowing from a mother's heart to the canvas of a professional landscape. It was brilliant yet raw, a reflection of both her struggles and triumphs. But even as she felt a flicker of hope, the antagonizing question lingered in the back of her mind: was this enough to convince the stakeholders of her vision's viability? In the days that followed, Sarah shared her growing outline with her children, engaging them in discussions on how to shape their ideas into something that could resonate with a broader audience. They painted colorful charts and crafted stories that wove fun into education, each creation echoing their familial bond. "See, Mommy? It's like telling a story," her daughter exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. Yet, with each session, the medial tightrope between her personal and professional life tightened. What if those two worlds were in contradiction rather than harmony? Balancing the fun and the serious felt increasingly like a juggling act on a shaky pedestal. As they pieced together their collaborative project, Sarah could almost hear the whispers of her doubts. Would investors take her seriously if they saw the childlike enthusiasm behind her work? The night before the presentation arrived, and she flipped anxiously through her notes, practicing her delivery until the words felt heavy on her tongue. In the deep silence of her home, the weight of her mixed identities bore down on her. Would she be enough? In a moment of clarity, Sarah realized she had to transcend the fear that undermined her confidence. She would channel her passion for both motherhood and creativity into a compelling narrative, not as a liability, but as her unique strength. It wouldn't be just a presentation of ideas. It would be a story that echoed her internal journey, one that spoke of heartfelt connections and candid vulnerability. But as she took one last look at her presentation notes, the doorbell rang, startling her from her reverie. Who could it possibly be at this hour? Her heart raced, not due to the door's unexpected chime, but because of the imminent unveiling of her carefully prepared project just hours away. The tension had built to a dramatic spotlight, and the moment had arrived for her to confront not just the stakeholders, but her own deepest fears. Sarah opened the door, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. Would this be a chance to finally merge her dual identities, or would she falter as the weight of responsibility clashed with her desire to be authentically herself? The air crackled with uncertainty as she welcomed the surprise visitor into a pivotal moment that could redefine everything. Standing in the doorway, Sarah was taken aback by the unexpected sight before her. A tall figure adorned in black leather, complete with a helmet tucked under one arm, loomed at her threshold. The biker, with a weathered face that bespoke countless roads traveled, exuded an unmistakable mixture of confidence and warmth. Without waiting for an invitation, he stepped inside, casting a curious glance around at her makeshift workspace. "Sorry if I caught you at a bad time," he said, his voice deep yet inviting. "I was passing by and thought I'd check in. That presentation is tomorrow, right?" A gust of relief mixed with apprehension brewed inside her. How'd he know about her presentation? Sarah swallowed hard, feeling a faint flicker of recognition. He was a neighbor she had seen only but briefly. "Yes, tomorrow. I'm just working on some final details." His gaze swept over the chaotic landscape of her creativity, noticing the vivid drawings and half-finished projects displayed everywhere. "Looks like you're putting your heart into it. I can relate. It's not easy preparing for something important." With that, a barrier she hadn't realized was up began to crumble. His understanding of struggle resonated with her own journey. "It's a mix of excitement and fear. Honestly," she confessed, her voice cracking slightly. "I want to combine my role as a mother with my professional vision, but I'm not sure if that will be taken seriously," she added, the weight of her self-doubt palpable. "Why not? You think everyone is expecting a sterile, corporate presentation? Emotion connects better than any chart can." He leaned closer, his sincerity evident in his eyes. The rawness of his conviction caught her off guard, igniting a flicker of hope that she wasn't alone in this struggle. They exchanged a few ideas, and he encouraged her to be unapologetically herself. Drawing upon her children's creativity wasn't a liability, it was the heart of her presentation. As he spoke, she envisioned weaving anecdotes about their brainstorming sessions into her narrative. The honesty of her journey, of a mother intertwining life and creativity, could evoke compassion and understanding. Yet, with the rush of inspiration came self-haunting questions. Could she truly put herself out there? The biker seemed to read her mind. Let go of the fear of judgment. Show them who you are. What is the worst that can happen? Those words circled in her mind like a mantra. She had been worried about selling her idea and not about expressing herself. Suddenly, she felt the weight of her self-imposed limitations loosen slightly, giving way to a vision rooted in authenticity. Just as the conversation began to deepen, her children burst into the room, voicing their excitement over a freshly baked batch of cookies. The biker turned towards them, a grin breaking across his face. "Now, that is what I'm talking about. Creativity and sweetness in one go. What will you all do next?" Sarah watched as her children's faces lit up, mirroring the enthusiasm that had been bubbling inside her all night. They invited the biker to join in on their celebratory treats, and she couldn't help but admire how easily the barriers to connection fell away. It was a reminder that authenticity was irresistible, an invitation into trust and understanding. As they indulged in warm cookies, Sarah felt an unexpected surge of clarity. This was the essence of what she wanted to convey, a world where creativity, vulnerability, and familial love intertwined to craft a compelling narrative. Yet, as the evening wore on, a nagging uncertainty began to creep back in. Would she be brave enough to channel this renewed spirit into her presentation? As the biker's laughter mingled with her children's, she realized that this was merely the start of her internal struggle. In the silence of her heart, she felt a storm brewing, one filled with hopes, fears, and a relentless push to redefine her identity as both a mother and a professional. The moment hadn't just shifted her perspective, it had ignited a fire within, but what would she do with it when the spotlight turned on her? Tomorrow loomed closer, an unknown entity filled with potential. Would she rise to meet it, or would the weight of self-doubt drag her back into the shadows? The day of the presentation dawned bright and promising, yet Sarah felt the familiar weight of hesitation shadowing her every thought. As she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting her hair, she caught a reflection not only of herself, but the woman she had become, a blended identity of nurturing mother and aspiring professional. The path from where she had started to this moment was daunting, but as she looked closer, she saw strength etched in her features. Utilizing the creative ideas inspired by her children and the warmth shared last night with Mike, Sarah felt a rush of purpose. Each sketch embodied a piece of her journey, integrating love and ambition into a narrative that was both personal and powerful. Wiping her clammy palms on her blouse, she gathered her notes and prepared to step into the world she once feared entirely. Arriving at the venue, the ambience pulsed with anticipation, and as she walked toward the presentation room, the steady beat of her heart matched that exuberant rhythm. This was her moment to converge her worlds, to showcase how family and passion could meld into something meaningful. The familiar doubt whispered at the back of her mind, but was drowned out by the collective energy of individuals who understood the transformative power of authentic connection. Standing alone at the front of the room, Sarah took a deep breath before speaking. The initial tremor in her voice transitioned into a steady cadence, reflecting confidence born from a now recognized self-worth. She told her story, the struggles, the aspirations, and how building her project alongside her children birthed vibrant ideas meant to inspire and engage. With each word, she could sense the audience's engagement deepening. Faces shifted from polite interest to genuine empathy, each nod and smile coaxing her forward into the depths of her narrative. This wasn't merely about data or visuals. It was about the enduring love of a mother molded into creative expression. She shared anecdotes of her children's playful contributions, illustrating how their innocent genius had informed her vision, the alignment of responsibility and joy sparking an unexpected wave of excitement in the room. As her presentation concluded, she sat down, a rush of satisfaction sweeping through her. She had conquered her fears, embraced authenticity, and spoke from the heart. The applause that followed felt like a warm embrace, reinforcing her identity and highlighting the seamless linkage between her personal and professional selves. Days later, after receiving feedback from everyone, Sarah found herself sitting at her desk, wrapped in thoughts of how the presentation had received glowing responses. The validation wasn't just professional. It resonated as a beacon illuminating the path she had embarked upon. Her narrative, woven with vulnerability and strength, sparked interest from stakeholders who saw potential not only in the project, but in the passionate spirit behind it. Her primary goal wasn't merely about the execution of a single project. It had transformed into a foundation for a larger purpose. She had demonstrated that an authentic voice could create ripples, inspiring others to consider perspectives that melded both professional pursuits and individual journeys. High on that sense of achievement, Sarah realized something else quietly fulfilling in her heart. It had reignited a spark within her creative spirit, which, hand in hand with motherhood, was now seen as a source of inspiration rather than a hindrance. With the project underway, Sarah made a commitment not just to herself, but also to her children, to embrace every moment, every challenge, and every joy. The fears that had once paralyzed her had now fueled her transformation into a vibrant individual, confident and resolute in her capabilities. Each day became an opportunity to nurture this newfound identity, a blend of ambition and nurturing, intertwining both within the canvas of family life. And so, the shadows of self-doubt dimmed, and the vibrant hues of acceptance, creativity, and love took their place. Sarah beamed with pride as her children painted alongside her, their laughter filling the room with joyous echoes, a perfect reflection of the life they were each creating together. Reaching for her phone, she excitedly texted Mike, thanking him for the support and encouragement that started this pivotal journey. Ready to plan a new barbecue? She typed, knowing well the friendship she had cultivated went beyond just professional connections. As she hit send, satisfaction enveloped her, not because of some monumental achievement alone, but for the remarkable acceptance of her multifaceted identity. She was a mother, an artist, and most importantly, an empowered woman ready to embrace all that life had to offer. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment your reactions and theories about this incredible journey. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. True fans of personal, overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel.